it is a spiritual program. So if folks aren't open to spirituality, it's probably not a good program for them, but it still might be. But anywho, through that process, I got to see and form and create a God that didn't hate, and a God that was accessible and free and loving and kind and there for my betterment, with love and all that sort of stuff. For whatever reason, I didn't have a God. I didn't see God that way, and I didn't experience God that way until I got into recovery. And then I could really begin to focus on what God was and not what God wasn't. And that helped me, I think, but I think I'm at a point now where it's so I got God in my life to increase my capacity to be in life well and be in life in the way that I wanted. But I still think from a space of brokenness or emptiness. And I feel like now I really have a desire to have a relationship with God in which I am a whole person. I'm a whole being. I don't need God for a crutch. I don't, you know what I mean? It's but I have a desire and I want God in my life. So it's from a state of desire and want versus need or desperation, which I still believe I need God, but it's not this, I don't know, this, I need it, it's more of I want it. There's more of a desire for it.
Yeah. You want to have a relationship, I think is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Sorry, that's nothing to do with hate, but I think it does talk a little bit about how to kind of having to have what that hate did and how it played out in my life. And once I was able to kind of work through that, I'm starting to have a different result. So what does it say is it Proverbs?
Yep, Proverbs. I'm going to read it right out of my Bible because I don't have it memorized, y'all. So Proverbs 6 is where I'm reading from. And
it's the Old Testament for folks who might not be aware.
Yep, and it's found right after the Psalms if you're thumbing through your Bible. The reference that I had started at verse 16 through verse 19. And I'm going to read it. Mine is a New American Standard. I did also looked it up in the King James Version, the New King James. And again, if you go out onto that resource, you can see it, the Hebrew, and it'll take you all the places where it's at. So, all right. So it says, there are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a man who stirs up dissension among brothers. So that's quite the list.
Right. It's quite the wording too.
Yeah, it is. And I know I'm a word look. I like to look stuff up because I think I have an idea of what some of those things mean, but I really want to understand what it says. And so for me, I start with Webster first, and then I kind of go from there. I did make some notes, and I did look up some other ideas that people had of what those words meant. So if there's any discussion we want to have about any of them, I'll share my thoughts and someone else's thoughts so that you don't have to take mine as gospel.
Well, and one of the things that I was thinking, and I was thinking hate, I feel like that's got lost in translation somehow, or it's gotten generalized or simplified maybe. Because the word love, in my understanding in the Bible, there are lots of forms of love. But it's all kind of lumped in just love, right? So I wondered if there was kind of if you will, levels of hate, if you will, or things that were, a different type of hate, I guess, versus, and so it got translated somewhere differently.
I think what's changed is our tolerance for it. Our tolerance for it. I remember growing up, Mom used to tell me all the time, don't you use the word hate. That's a bad word. That's just those other cuss words. But we'd go to school and we'd use it, and other kids said, I hate you, whatever. But I think it's just become something that we've been desensitized to, unless it's to some extreme where we've got someone really focusing on it, and so that it gets attention. But I think sometimes when we focus, we're just spreading more hate. It's okay, wait a second, we got to take a step back and just and not get caught up in all that. So I think we've been desensitized to it, just like
Mm.
lots of other things that we've been desensitized to.
As in we are calloused to hate, or that we label a lot of things hate that might not be.
Both, I think. I think we can be so callous. Like, I'm just gonna give you an example. Y'all can be mad at me if you want to, but it's the truth, and we'll just work through it, or you'll have to pray for me, or whatever it is. I don't want to have a discussion because I already know. So when I start to hear someone spewing about how much they're hated or whatever, and it's all over the media, I have to tell you, I'm just like, roll my eyes.
Mm.
So I'm been desensitized to what's happening, because it's every time I turn around. Being in the industry that I was accused so many times of being hateful and doing things because I hated people and all of those things. And I don't know if it was because I was white. I don't know if it was because I was a woman. I don't know if it was because I was the manager. I have no idea why it was. And I feel bad for all those folks that they would feel that way. But it desensitized me so that I just like, oh, I don't even want to hear it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And then I think
Like
as kids, you make it flip it. Go ahead.
Sorry. So it's like an extreme, that it's kind of such an extreme kind of thing that you're like, whoa, that's not me. So it doesn't even make you open to maybe like, is there something I'm doing, like, because it's so extreme. It's like, I know I don't hate.
Yeah. Or because it's like, I hear it everywhere. Every time I turn around, there's a, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I don't know if it's, I don't want to deal with it. I don't know if I just don't care. I do care. But when I want to care about something that I can make a difference in. So anyway, I think there's a big, that's just my opinion. So it doesn't have to be right. It's just my opinion. And I'm trying to not be insensitive to things and try to hear things and gain understanding those things so I can make quality decisions and move in love and kindness and whatever I need to do. But I think there's a lot of people that are like me, or even people not like me, that have been desensitized. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, and I wonder if there's like, I don't know, it feels like, in so many other words and so many other experiences, there's kind of levels, or there's like gray area, if you will.